Hello, everyone. Please do make use of the chat so I know I'm not just talking to my screen. But thank you, evaluagent, for asking me to join this summit, one that I've attended as an attendee over, I think, every year it's been done. So loads of great content all day, and now you've got me at the end. For those of you that don't know, my favorite team leader champion. Thank you, BM. I appreciate that. For those of you that don't know, my name's Martin Teasdale. It says so on the screen. Uh, as well as hosting Get Out of Rap, the podcast, I am the Bethany, and Chris and Penny and Victoria, lovely Victoria, who was actually in Oxford when I was doing the half marathon. Penny says, "Where's the real star?" I can't say his name because he will come in, but he might come in that door at any point. I have been clever. I've walked in prior to this. So, yes, I'm the host of Get Out a Rap, the podcast, but I also am the founder of the Team Leader community. Part of the reason for doing that is as a team leader myself and an agent prior to that, I genuinely loved the role, but it was the one where it had like the steepest ever learning curve. You were just sort of thrown in. Here's a nice poll for you. If you have team leaders, how many people are you responsible for? So please do jump in on that less than 10, 10 to 15, or 15 plus. It'll be interesting to see how that compares to the team leader community. But I'd like to think that the moment I passed being a team leader, I've tried to champion the cause of team leaders and those people that are actually doing the job on the front line. So today, I want to talk about why we can't fix the front line and customer KPIs without looking after team leaders. And I'll also share what happens when you start treating team leaders as the performance leaders that they are. Poll is very interesting, isn't it? Less than 10, 53% of you, 40% 10 to 15, and only 7% with 15 plus. You must be exhausted. Okay, so let's crack on, shall we? I think, and you've probably seen this as well, that team leaders are the most squeezed layer in the contact center. They manage up, dealing with SLAs, reports, pressure from senior leaders, and also the characters and personalities of senior leaders and their wildly varying priorities and moods. They coach down, guiding their team members. They support well-being. They're solving performance gaps. And often what we forget is they firefight. They don't fight. They firefight sideways. So between departments, WFM, QA, technical issues, customer complaints. Just out of interest, for those of you that are on, please use the chat and let me know uh, whether you started on the phones and or whether you were a team leader yourself. Let's find out how many of you can remember this feeling of being caught in the middle, yet you're holding it all together. Bethany started on the phones. Likewise. So did Penny. Tina, yes and yes. Faith started on the phones. Lindsay, been through both, was on the phones and a TL. So was Kay, started on the phones. Charlie on the phones and TL. Peter started on the phones, worked up to TL, and now support manager. Matthew Fisher, both. So you, come on, we're all friends now, aren't we? We've all been there. And Tahaba, yes and yes, and now ops manager. So this isn't going to be alien to you, is it? Being caught in the middle And the biggest challenge there is, where do I want to spend my time? I think naturally we orientate towards our teams and the sideways, and then we get interventions from above that gain our priority, take us off track, stop our coaching sessions. Too many times, though, people forget that this such a significant group in the middle is the one that is getting all of the pressure. And talking of pressure, too much pressure with too little support. I'm basing a lot of this not just on my own experience, but from talking to people within the team leader community. It's an online community. We have 650 members, of which Bethany is one. So that's great to see. Here's the problem: we ask team leaders to do everything, but we don't always give them the support or the clarity to succeed. And a key part of this is, and I'm sure you could all agree, because team leaders don't fail very often, those above them and those maybe managing them, unless you've been a team leader yourself, and I notice several of you are probably now responsible for team leaders, but because they do not fail, no one thinks there's a problem. Team leaders are responsible for hitting team KPIs, running coaching sessions, managing attendance, reporting data, and let's not forget, as our poll showed, up to 15 human beings. And those human beings bring with them great joy, great satisfaction, humor, energy, experience. On the flip side of that, they bring life challenges, work challenges, mopes and groans. And I always felt like, as a team leader, you are a bank, and your team members either deposit into the bank or they withdraw. And if everyone every day is just withdrawing a little bit of credit from you as the bank, you can find yourself exhausted at the end of the day. You recharge, you go back at it for your team members because you're passionate. I've yet to meet team leaders, certainly successful ones, that are not passionate about their team and developing their team. But we are loading up team leaders with too many responsibilities and too little support. Please do feel free. I'd love this to be interactive. Do you think we are loading up team leaders with too much? Are we giving them clarity around what their priorities are? And perhaps another question for you. I'm just going to get you to do all the work. Another question for you is: what do you think the number one priority for team leaders is? What is the number one priority for team leaders? Please type into the chat and let's see what we get. So, what are some of the big KPIs? Catherine, I think it's unclear what team leaders are responsible for. Number one priority should be to drive and improve performance. Becky says being there for the team. Here's a question for Catherine. What is the best ratio of TL to agents? How do we benefit from coach roles to support TLs? There are so many varying operating models, and I agree that we should treat TLs as performance leaders. Do coach roles blur the lines? I'll come back to that. That's a great question. Client and agent tenuity, says Kay. 100% too much is expected. Priority for the TLs is their team. Performance and well-being is crucial, says Peter. Supporting the team, molding the team, being a voice for the team, says Tina. I'm going to make sure I don't miss any of these. Penny says number one priority is looking after their people and coaching for performance. Too often they have no developed leadership styles and training. Tahaba says looking after their well-being and not being worried to reaching out for support. Great point. Lindsay says, I think it makes a huge difference to an operation whether or not the TL's line manager has, oh, sorry, it's gone, has makes time for being their manager and coaching and supporting them. Some structures I've found don't leave enough room for that. So some are left to figure it out as they go. Very, very true. Alvaro says a force multiplier for team results and compliance adherence. Faith says the number one priority for being the voice of their peers. Bethany says, yes, TLs are like the glue that holds everything together. While supporting the team is a priority, they end up coaching, managing HR issues, managing relations with other teams, sharing customer feedback, collating stats, etc., in order to make that possible. What you guys have perfectly evidenced is what happens across our industry. No two contact centers are the same. Some say you have to make sure that your team are sticking to the regulations and compliance, and all we care about is the results. You have others that say the well being of your team is all that matters. Do that, and everything else will follow. This can be different within a contact center as well. So, team leaders generally do not know what their number one priority is. Even less do they know what priority number two is and what number three is. That has to come from senior leadership. Senior leaders need to understand that team leaders are the leverage point for everything. So, attrition, quality, productivity, customer satisfaction, every one of those things goes through a team leader. You can spend thousands on tools or dashboards, but if your team leaders, and it's come up in the chat a few times, if your team leaders are not developed, motivated, and supported, you won't see the results you want. There is so much activity in our contact centers, chasing performance, looking at new technology, restructuring what we do, changing how we train agents. And it's like we forget about team leaders. The biggest leverage point you will have for performance in your contact center is the team leaders. And recently, within the team leader community, we've been talking a lot about coaching. So little coaching training is done for team leaders, yet we then expect them to go out and coach. And what they don't do, they're not coaching initially. What they're doing is just feeding back and telling. They're not asking, they're not conducting coaching sessions because they don't know how. Very few contact centers have a coaching methodology that's agreed. So whether I'm in Beth's team or Pete's team, I should have the same coaching methodology and my coach should have a level of competency. Now, let me just come back to that question that I thought was really interesting around whether coaches help or hinder you in a team. So, again, you might have structures where there's a team leader and that team leader is supported by a coach, or a coach is shared between teams. Maybe they're called something else like the team support or team supervisor. In my experience, that can work okay. It's not a personal preference, because I feel like the team leader needs to be the person that oversees the development of their team members, and the key part to that is coaching. So it also means that a team leader then just becomes they miss that key part of coaching. Coaching is the opportunity to really develop a relationship, really understand the team member, be the key part and the key person in their development over and above whatever it is you're coaching them on. I haven't yet been in a contact center where I've seen that done perfectly. I think it can be done well. Um, it often means, though, that in some cases the team leaders don't think that is part of their role. Me personally, I think it's the key part, because that is developing your team members, and a separate coach can come in and support and be a different voice and coach on something specific, but the day to day, week to week, month by month development of people through coaching, I think, sits very much with the team leader. Pete Dan recently judged the TL category for an industry award. Every business looks for different things from their TLs, but they all ask for so much. Good to see such recognition of the impact of the role. I couldn't agree more. And you know, in a small way, we're banging the drum for team leaders. How many times do team leaders get training within the year? If you look at, and I looked at this last year, whether you work in McDonald's or you're going into the military or you're working in a factory, you cannot be responsible for other people within the workspace unless you've completed some kind of mandatory training. In our industry, and I do know that this happens in some, and some people have great aspiring leader programs, next generation team leader programs. Some people have put them in the team leader community, but we do not have this kind of structured. Okay, good. You've gone through. I think in McDonald's it's 6 months of training. In the army, the quickest you can do it, certainly in the UK, is 9 months. Only when you've done that do we say you are now able to manage other people in our work environment. In our industry, that can be Tuesday to Wednesday, Friday to Monday. Good news, you've got the job, you start on Monday. And, you know, again, another question for you all, because you've all been agents and then team leaders. How many of you were thrown in at the deep end versus how many of you had some structured training before you took over your team? I'm happy to be corrected. So, question for you all now. Craig, in at the deep end. Good in. Chris, completely chucked in. Faith, sink or swim. Charlie, no training, straight in. Taba, the deepest end. I had an afternoon where admin logins were shared, then chucked in. Thrown in with no floats. Floaty, says Tina. Deep end. Now then, Penny, 30 years ago with Barclays Bank, had a 6 month development plan. Great. Matthew, no training at all. Rachel, there was a small bit of product training, but no management training at all. Now, we've all survived, right? And we look back at that time probably fondly. Chris has said the same thing. Testament to everyone. We all seem to have survived. Lindsay says 100% straight in the deep end. And ashamed to say, I've since done the same to way too many people with no formal training, just coaching. At least you did coaching, Lindsay. But, you know, let's look at these two things we've talked about already. One, team leaders very rarely fail. Two, we're all here. We love it. We love this industry. And I think that makes us biased because how many people do not love it? How many people feel, you know, I think we've all felt like we didn't know what we were doing and we struggled. And especially when you're managing people that are a lot older than you, that have got more life experience, more experience in the job, you feel like they're not listening to you or respect you. But somehow, as Chris has said as well, we survived. You know, that is a key part of our learning. But there is a responsibility now on all of us to not put other people in that position. It doesn't need to be much, but we do need to prepare them for what leadership is. Because if we can get team leaders competent and thriving, the performance of the contact center can change. It will change. Pete Dunn says magic was used to change me from a debt specialist to a team leader overnight delivery. The magic weekend. I have to, Tauber says, I have to manage TLs who have had no training, and it is very difficult to make them understand the need for coaching and mentoring. Well, if we just think about coaching for a second, you can't become a coach overnight. You may have been coached many, many times, but that doesn't make you competent in being a competent coach. At the very least, we should agree a methodology, train people on how to deliver that methodology, and talk to them about how marginal gains, follow up, tracking your the impact of your coaching sessions, the right questions to ask, how to use silence, how to listen actively. All of these things will just, we could fuel people with to be better coaches. I'm loving the chat so much, I'm forgetting to go through my presentation. Okay. So, what makes a great team leader? And this is my opinion. And please do tell me if you think, if you have a different view or there's a slight variation. But for me, the best team leaders aren't the ones who shout the loudest about their performance or produce the best reports. They're the ones who know how to coach. They can build a culture of care and excellence and who show up with consistency. So we often promote great agents into team leader roles, expect them to perform magically, but leading, we know, all of you guys know as well, requires a whole different skill set, and we need to support that. So these are the three things for me. You have to be a good coach. You have to understand and build the culture of your team, and you have to show up consistently. You have to deliver. You have to be there. Consistency builds reassurance and trust. Now, with those two things, then you can build your culture. And what underpins all of that? Coaching. Would love to hear any additions here too, says Victoria. Yeah, please do jump in with the chat. What do you think makes a great team leader? Maybe you could add in communication, keeping it with the C's. Charming. Peter says, we ensure all our TLs are put on an ILM course to help with training. That's brilliant. That is great. Chris says, agree with all of those. Coaching is definitely the foundation, supporting your people on their journey. Let me ask you something else. When you think back to your time as a team leader, because I feel very comfortable now, we're all ex-team leaders together. But when you think back to your career as a team leader, what is the thing that gives you the most, what is the thing that you look back on proudly? What is the thing from your time as a team leader that you are most proud of? And also use the chat to let me know whether you think I'm wrong with these three things. So, one of the biggest issues I see is we are asking team leaders to spend too much time on reporting and not enough time on coaching. When you ask a team leader how they spend their day, it's often pulling reports, chasing adherence, logging sickness, getting ready for performance, trying to drag in data from multiple different sources. Um, Definitely a plug here for evaluagent and making sure that you are checking out their systems, which do make this a hell of a lot easier, certainly on the quality part. But what if team leaders had more time to develop people? What if coaching wasn't something they had to fit in, but something they were measured and rewarded for? And we said, let's stop doing reports for 2 days. Let's see what happens. Spend that time with your team. I 100% recommend this. When I was first responsible for team leaders, I had 9 reporting into me. I made sure we had admin-free days every week. Now, there was one guy, and Pete Dunn knows this story because I've told it many times. He loved his admin, absolutely loved it because he didn't feel confident interacting with his team and coaching them. This is when we were all in the office. So, with the help of our facilities team, one day when he came in to be amongst his team and sit down and start typing like the Kermit the Frog gif, I'd completely removed his desk and his PC. And I said to him, Adam, all you have to do today is spend time with your team. This is, it's quite extreme, but it definitely worked. Now then, what were people saying they were proud of? Here we go. Becky says, watching people develop and progress into other roles. Love that. Craig says, to get their team leaders need to prioritize, plan, and delegate to get the time to coach. Great shout, Craig, in terms of the 3 keys. Peter says, the colleagues I help to progress to other roles within the company. Chris says, when one of my team leaders was leaving, they told me how my coaching shaped their career. It's all about the people. Lindsay says, most proud of the journey I've seen some of the team go on with the development from my time as a TL and the ones who still reach out for coaching and advice. That's brilliant. Natia says, in terms of what else could we be doing? People management and motivation, communicating priorities and performance benchmarks, setting goals for the team and reps, conducting meaningful one to ones, not just status updates, helping reps replicate top performer behaviors, data informed decision making. I love it. Charlie says, the impact you make on people. A couple of my team sent me this. Your manager has more impact on your mental health than your doctor or therapist. Having a good boss can literally change your life. How amazing is that? Thank you all for sharing, because you've hit the nail on the head. Great team leaders, people that have stayed in this industry like us, all we ever orientate to is people. But we do so much in contact centers to stop team leaders having that impact. We ask them to report. I shared something in the community the other week, and I'm sure you maybe you even do this now. The question to the team leaders was this: your team members, when they go home, talk about you. They might be sat with their family having dinner, and they will be talking about you. What do you want them to be saying? You want them to be saying, "Oh, my team leader's great. Help me with this today. Help me with that today." Um, Thank you, Victoria. Becky says you spend more time with the people you work with than you do with your family. So true. But maybe if you are responsible for team leaders, ask them that question. Ask them the question: when your team go home and talk to you with their friends and family, what do you hope they will be saying? Do you want them saying, my team leader's great, helps me with so much, help me with this today, help me with that today, I love working for them? Or are they going to be saying, just never see them, always stressed, always doing reports, I certainly wouldn't want to be a team leader myself, or they're a bit of a pain because of X, Y, and Z? Just asking people to remove themselves into that can definitely make them think about how they're showing up as leaders. Okay, please do keep these coming. I love interacting. It's better than the presentation. Okay, so let's refocus the role. And I feel like I'm preaching to the converted because you guys are all behind this. I think we need to refocus a role from admin to impact. A team leader should not be bogged down in admin. They are the most impactful. We've established that. We know that. They can touch all areas of the contact center. So we need to reframe the team leader role. They've got to shift from tracking to coaching and from reporting to influencing. I'm going to, okay. There's a myth that's developing that developing team leaders is kind of a nice to have. It's not. It is the most cost effective way to raise performance. If we can give team leaders proper development, not just compliance briefings, policy briefings, technology updates, but to help them with real leadership skills, communication, coaching, resilience, emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, building an effective team, different team models, different coaching methodologies. If we can invest in team leaders that way, they will multiply the investment across every agent they lead. And what will that do? We have a perennial problem in our industry about customer satisfaction. It's been consistently low for 10, 15 years at the same time as we've never had better technology. I truly believe it's because we are not doing enough investment in our leaders and teaching them leadership skills, key leadership skills. Emotional intelligence is, for me now, a prerequisite, and then you need to move into cultural intelligence, leading diverse teams, dealing with diverse customers, and building that culture of growth and progress and having a growth mindset. That's not going to happen by osmosis alone. it's not going to just develop. We can't rely on team leaders to do the work outside of work. They're knackered. So we have to take the time to do it for them when they are with us, and they will pay us back tenfold. Okay, very quickly. Three ways to start today. Number one, make time for real coaching, put it in the schedule, protect it, celebrate it. I've been really reassured recently that I've spoke to some contact centers that regardless of the alarms going off about service levels, never, ever, ever move coaching sessions. And they say, we'll get that service level back some other way. That's just an output. We need to focus on things that are going to change that output. Oh, question, Natia, Martin, I'm curious. In your experience, how do you track the influence on team leaders on each rep's performance? How can you tell if a team lead is truly investing in their reps and helping them improve beyond just holding one-to-ones? Great question. I mean, let's be honest. In our industry, we measure everything. I think if you look at team performance and whether there's outliers there, positive or negative, that might be showing up in things like absence, attrition, um, individual team members' performance, and cumulatively the team's performance. I think you'll see some indicators there that might lead you to investigate further. Team leaders won't thank me for this, but I think observations are really good as well. Spend some time in the team, observe a coaching session, observe a one-to-one. Um, the more frequently you do that, the more comfortable people become with you being there. Of course, never say anything in public in terms of correcting them, but this is information gathering. So I spent a lot of time observing. I think 360 surveys are great. And if you can, again, the frequency of doing these means that team leaders are not scared of them, especially with the actions you take as a result. For me, I wanted team leaders to be comfortable receiving challenging feedback, right? This kind of clarity is kindness, being candid is kind. If we could find out from our agents how they felt their leaders were leading them, we would get some great information from that. And it helped us make the team leaders better. So for me, it would be doing a lot of information gathering. Look at your KPIs. Is it telling you anything? Okay. Number two, give them learning, bring in mentors. Um, Let them join communities, let them go and see the wider world, let them go to the expo, they can join the team leader community, give them tools. Someone mentioned ILM earlier, which is great. We need to let team leaders see that there's more to our industry than just their contact center. Let them shape the culture, invite them to strategy meetings, feedback loops, innovation sessions, get them using the other part of their brain that they don't use very often. That is a great feeling as well, to be invited into senior meetings and say, we value your opinion. So we need to do more of that. You're welcome, Natia. Okay. I think the future leader is going to be data literate. They're going to understand performance in context. They're going to be people led. They build trust. They coach effectively. They create their own communities. And they will be AI augmented, maybe with those meta glasses, just giving them KPIs and QA results in front of their vision. No, I don't mean that. What I mean is they will be supported by AI that takes away a lot of the reporting. They won't be stuck in spreadsheets. It will enhance their time and not replace their judgment. Cybernetic team leaders, yes. That's the future. Team leaders are strategic performance leaders, driving excellence. We're all them, right? So we are proof that it can be done. So finally, and I'm conscious I've gone over, that's because of you guys, I'm blaming you. You can't fix the front line. without the people leading it. Everything gets easier if you have great team leaders. And if you are interested, please do contact me if you'd like to join all of these companies and join the team leader community. Thank you so much for your interactions. It's been brilliant, and it's lovely to be amongst friends and people that have been there and done it before. So focus on your team leaders. This has been great. I think so too, but that's because of you guys. Thank you very, very much. And again, thank you, evaluagent, for allowing me to just come in and witter on about a subject I'm very passionate about, as you can tell. Oh, look, Penny, definitely recommend the TLC. Fabulous resource. Thank you very much. It's been lovely. And if we're not connected on LinkedIn, let's do please connect. You're all lovely people. I hope I haven't mispronounced anyone's name. I gave it my best shot. But thank you for your input, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you for evaluagent for putting it on.